Welcome back to Building Character, where we figure out how to play as your favorite fictional characters in Dungeons & Dragons. Join the Patreon to vote for Black Lightning or Firestorm, and subscribe for more Clay next time you play. Maybe. Today we're building Clayface, a Batman villain, and Scott from NerdSync isn't here. You should still definitely subscribe to his channel though, he makes the best videos on the internet. This is definitely still Tulok talking and not Scott in disguise.
I'm alive if I was invisible.
Let's start off with our goals for this build. First, we need to smash with big earth arms to have our foes quaking in their boots. Next, we need to get oozy. Not like the amazing homebrew subclass Way of the Gelatinous Disciple Monk, that's a different thing, a very good thing you should definitely watch, top right corner. Finally, we need to change our appearance at will, shifting our look because it's fun. But it's not fun to change your appearance when you don't want to, especially because of hair loss. That's where today's sponsor, Keeps, comes in. Did you know 2/3 of men will experience some sort of male pattern baldness by the time they hit 35? Yeah. That's true, and the best way to prevent it is by acting fast. That's why you should check out Keeps today, because their medications can take 4 to 6 months to start showing results. Don't worry though, Keeps is keeping things affordable by sending you generic versions of medications still approved by the FDA and reviewed by a licensed doctor. To make it even more affordable, they're offering Tulok fans 50% off on their first order. Hair loss stops with Keeps. So if you're ready to take action and prevent hair loss, go to keeps.com/Tulok for 50% off your first order. That's KEEPS.com/Tulok. Now back to the video. For stats, we're going to be using the standard point buy from the player's handbook. Roll for stats if you want, just keep those multi-classing minimums in mind. We're going to start off dropping dexterity, intelligence, and wisdom to 8. You're susceptible to Batman's frightening. It's really the only thing that ever beats you, or water, and a tidal wave is a dex save. But don't worry, despite your weaknesses, you have strengths. One of which is strength. The others are constitution and charisma. Clayface is the tank, the face, and the muscle of any party he's in. It might sound like a lot of pressure, but if you want to be an actor, you gotta get used to working multiple jobs. Earth Genasi are great for people who are descended from genies, and not for people who magically get turned into mud later. Those are humans who got variant. So we'll go variant human to take the actor feat, giving you +1 charisma, the ability to mimic speech after a minute of study, and advantage on performance and deception checks to pretend you're another person. Spoilers for Arkham City, but Clayface pretends to be the Joker for like the whole game. He's the antagonist you deal with most. Not even Batman catches on, and that guy is perceptive. Bump your strength and constitution with your 2 free points, take athletics for your skill of choice, and the entertainer background for acrobatics and performance skill. I thought about doing charlatan, but Basil was legit once upon a time, and we'll get those skills later anyway. Because we're going to start off as a bard for 3 skills from the bard list. Intimidation, sleight of hand, and deception will cover charisma skills and make you a scarier monster man. Every time I make a bard, people get grumpy, especially for some Batman villains. I did long bits in those videos to make the build people wanted, and then the build I thought was better. Turns out they were still mad. But if you're not okay with the professional actor Basil Carlo as a bard, you've got your own issues with the class. That's not my bad. Really quickly though, not a genie warlock, because you don't get your powers from a genie. You get your powers from stealing the blood of a copycat killer who had superpowers that you give to yourself to give yourself superpowers, which is obviously a bard. It actually works really well with this specific bard class we're going to. More on that later. Anyway, spells, cantrips. Prestidigitation does a bunch of small things: heating stuff, cooling stuff, cleaning stuff, or in the case of the face, dirtying things. Batman's costume is always so crisp, demoralize him with filth. Thunderclap forces a constitution saving throw on creatures within 5 feet of you, dealing a d6 of thunder damage to those that fail for a little groundy poundy. The cantrips, I'm stretching a bit, but the first level spells are so Clayface. Disguise Self lets you change your appearance for an hour. Creatures can make an intelligence check against your spell save to see through your disguise, but you'll be rolling so high on performance and deception, they're not even gonna think to do that. Cure Wounds heals 1d8 plus your charisma modifier to a creature you touch as an action. Touch yourself to regenerate, but if you do it too much, you'll get hairy palms. Heroism will give you another regeneration option, making your creature immune to frightening and giving them temporary HP equal to your charisma modifier at the start of their turn, refreshing a pool of 3 HP at this point, which basically makes you as bulky as a fighter, maybe even a barbarian, and it regenerates. Pretty neat. Earth Tremor forces a constitution saving throw on creatures in a 10-foot radius, dealing a d6 of bludgeoning damage to those that fail, knocking them prone and turning the area into difficult terrain. It's not great for damage, but it can restrict some mobility, which is great when you do your best fighting up close. Bards also get bardic inspiration, d6s you can give to your allies to buff their ability checks, attack rolls, or saving throws, but there's something a little more Clayface once we get to the subclass, which is going to take a little longer because we're dipping over to fighter now. First level fighters get a fighting stat like unarmed fighting to make your unarmed attacks deal 1d8 when you have 2 free hands, 1d6 if you're holding something for some reason, and 1d4 to a creature you have grappled once per turn. That's probably the thing you're holding. You're going to be a great grappler, fight best up close, and mostly fight Batman, who benefits from big mobility. It's going to be a good combo to clay someone up and then just keep slamming them. You also get second wind for more regeneration, letting you heal 1d10 plus your fighter level as a bonus action once per short rest. Now we can can bounce back to Bard. I just wanted to make sure you could punch. Second level Bards get Jack of all trades, letting you add half your proficiency bonus to checks you're not proficient with. So even though we dumped half your stats, you still have no negative skill modifiers now. I mostly dumped things to get your big stats as big as possible, as quickly as possible, and kind of felt bad, because Basil isn't unintelligent. This fixes that up for you a little bit. You also get Song of Rest to give your allies an extra d6 of healing on short rests. For you, that's because you regenerate. For the other Batman rogues, that's because you probably did a musical at some point. I know he's mostly a horror actor, but there could be a Sweeney Todd or a Phantom of the Opera on his resume. For this level spell, Featherfall will stop up to 5 falling creatures from taking falling damage. As a reaction, you can't break your knees if you don't have knees. And you can also save Oswald, Mickey, Donald, Clarabelle, and Goofy when you land. Third level Bards get Expertise, doubling your proficiency bonus with 2 skills you're proficient with. Go for Performance and Deception, which you'll also have advantage on most of the time with the actor feat. And Disguise Self. If you can't beat Bruce Wayne, just frame him for murder. You also get to choose a college, and sometimes the best line delivery is a whisper. The College of Whisper Bards gets Psychic Blades, letting you spend your Bardic Inspiration die to add 2d6 psychic damage to a weapon attack, which does include unarmed attacks. Why do Clayface's attacks deal psychic damage? Imagine the person you loved most died tragically when you were young, shaping your entire identity. Now imagine that person punched you in the face. You also get gaslighting powers with Words of Terror, letting you force a wisdom saving throw on a creature you've spoken to for a minute. Failing that, they're frightened of you or another creature for an hour. If they pass, they have no idea you tried to bamboozle them, but you could disguise yourself as Alfred, then tell Bruce that Robin's parents are alive and suing him for child endangerment. For this level spell, let's get Large with Enlarge Reduce. It was added to the Bard list in Tasha's. It's a Bard spell. Just gonna cut that off right now. Look it up. This lets you make a creature one size larger, giving them an additional d4 of damage to their attacks with weapons, which doesn't include your unarmed attacks. That stinks. But you do get advantage on strength checks and saves, including grappling checks, and you deal a d4 of damage when you grapple someone, so you basically can get that too. And with the unarmed fighting style, you deal a d4 of damage to a creature when you grapple them, so you basically still get that. You can also reduce a creature's size for the opposite effect. If you need to squeeze through some vents, you're very fluid. But the combat effects are only penalties. Don't fight small. If a creature doesn't want to change their size, they can make a wisdom saving throw to resist, but just shift your size to suit your mood. 4th level Bards get an ability score improvement. Let's start off with Charisma, since that will give you another use of Psychic Blades per long rest and make your bamboozlery even better. Technically, Basil was a serial killer before he became a full-fledged supervillain, even though we have a lot of the clay powers already, and we're getting another one, like Hold Person, forcing a wisdom saving throw on a humanoid. Failing that, they're paralyzed for up to a minute depending on your concentration. That means free critical hits when you're within 5 feet of them, which would double your Psychic Blades damage as well. So hold someone still, make them look into the eyes of their dead parents, and bash them in the face with trauma. This build's mean. 5th level Bards get a Font of Inspiration, letting you recover your Bardic Inspiration die on a short rest instead of a long one, and now they're d8s. To be clear, that doesn't mean your Psychic Blades deal 2d8 now. Instead, they deal 3d6 for some reason. It scales with d6s. It's kind of weird. I'll keep you up to date on it, don't worry. For this level spell, Fear forces a wisdom saving throw on creatures in a 60-foot cone. Failing that, they're frightened of you and have to use their action to dash away from you. While you're good at fighting, it's way easier to rob a bank if all the guards just bail. 6th level Whisper Bards get Mantle of Whispers, letting you take on the appearance of a creature you kill for an hour. You get any casual information they would talk about with someone, and when creatures make an insight check to see through your deception, you get +5 to the deception check with advantage and expertise. So right now, that's advantage +15. By the end of things, that'll be advantage +17. You're gonna get your bamboozle off. For this level spell, Slow fills a 40-foot cube with slowness for your enemies, forcing a wisdom saving throw on them and giving them halved movement speed, a -2 penalty to their AC and dexterity saving throws. They can't take reactions. They can only take an action or bonus action, not both. And if they cast a spell, you get to roll a d20. On an 11 or higher, the spell doesn't come out until next round, preventing spells, which are probably your biggest problem. Just spray the room full of clay, which I guess is you. So spray the room with yourself. Wait, that sounds gross. 7th level Bards can learn 4th level spells. Freedom of movement makes you immune to effects that would slow you down. Difficult terrain, paralysis, restraining mint. You can also break out of non-magical shackles with 5 feet of movement. That's the main thing I took it for. How do you handcuff Clayface? 8th level Bards get another ability score improvement. Capping off your charisma modifier is my #1 priority. That's how you do all the really fun stuff with Clayface. We'll get better at hitting things later. For this level spell, we can't grab the other 4th level spell I want just yet, so just grab Longstrider for +10 to your movement speed, since you can literally make your strides long. 9th level Bards can learn 5th level spells. Hold Monster is like Hold Person without the humanoid restriction. Most of the monsters are on your team, Killer Croc, that kind of thing, but your team deals with a lot of infighting. Lock down that Croc down. Bars. 10th level Bards get another set of expertise. Use it for athletics and intimidation for absolutely massive grapples and to recall the horror film days of your youth. Your Bardic Inspiration also bumps up to a d10 here, and your Psychic Blades now deal 5d6 psychic damage or 10d6 with a critical hit. But most importantly, you get magical secrets. 2 spells from any list, like Stone Skin, to give yourself resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage for an hour depending on your concentration. Despite Clayface's name, his whole body is made out of clay. Call me Skin Face. Maximilian's Earthen Grasp brings a hand out of the ground that forces a strength saving throw on a creature. Failing that, they're restrained and take 2d6 bludgeoning damage. Unlike a regular grapple, they have to make a strength check to break out, not an athletics or acrobatics check, which means probably no proficiency bonus and no dexterity option for Batman. Poor guy. That's gotta be the worst thing that happens to him, other than getting beaten to death by his dead mother. That's probably worse. We're gonna bounce back to fighter now. Second level fighters get action surge, letting you make 2 actions in 1 turn, once per short rest, so you can get a play grapple off with hold person or earthen grasp and slam in the same turn. Third level fighters can choose a martial archetype, and if you like being a big guy, rune knights get giant smite, letting you set your size to large, giving yourself advantage on strength checks and saves, and you deal an extra d6 of damage with 1 attack per round. That would also get doubled with a critical hit, so if you hold person on someone, 1 punch can deal 2d8 plus 2d6 plus your strength modifier and bludgeoning, followed by 10d6 psychic damage with psychic blades. Who needs extra attack? We do. We'll get it soon. Another fun option with this is casting Enlarge afterwards to become a huge creature, which means that you can grapple any creature in the game, and you'll be filling a 15 by 15 foot cube for more opportunity attacks. I don't know why Batman villains always end up being my favorite builds, but every single one of them can do something that's totally incredible. You also get 2 runes. The Frost rune gives you advantage on animal handling and intimidation checks, which means you basically have 3 capped off expertise charisma skills that are permanently rolled with advantage. That's ridiculous. It also lets you give yourself +2 to strength and constitution checks for 10 minutes per short rest, so your expertise grapple will actually be the highest it could possibly be for a player character. For your other rune, the Cloud rune gives you advantage on deception and sleight of hand checks, and once per short rest, you can make an attack that's supposed to hit you, hit another creature within 30 feet of you to open your stomach up, and make a Batarang hit Jason instead of you. Dang, that's gotta be the worst thing that happens to Jason Todd. 4th level fighters get another ability score improvement. Now we're gonna start working on your strength to hit someone like a mountain. Mountains don't hit people, but imagine if they did. 5th level fighters get an extra attack, letting you attack twice with your action instead of 1, or up to 4 times with an action surge. Keep in mind, psychic blades and giant smite only pop on 1 attack per round, but a little extra damage doesn't hurt. Well, it doesn't hurt you. 6th level fighters get another ability score improvement, so you can cap off your strength score, which means you're gonna have the highest grapple check possible after you activate the Frost rune, ending at +19 at level 2 with advantage if you have Enlarge or giant smite active. Is it your muscles or is it your sticky fingers? I think the answer is yes. We're gonna finish this off with more bard levels. 11th level bards can learn 6th level spells. Can, don't have to. We're gonna go back to the 2nd level for Shatter, letting you force a constitution saving throw on creatures in a 10-foot radius, dealing 3d8 thunder damage to those that fail. Creatures made of inorganic materials and structures have disadvantage on the saving throws, so this is the best spell to break through a wall like the Kool-Aid Man. You're both semi-viscous men. You're just like Dookie flavored Kool-Aid. 12th level bards get our last ability score improvement. Pump your constitution instead of going for the tough feat. We have a lot of concentration options and don't have proficiency with the saving throw. But if we went for resilient or warcaster, we also wouldn't get a bunch more HP, and you should have a bunch of HP. Oh, and we didn't go barbarian because you can't concentrate on casting while raging, so it would make you lose all your mud powers except for disguise self. Hold person, earthen grasp, heroism, and slow are all concentration, so you can't use them while you're barbarianing. 13th level bards get a 7th level spell like regenerate, healing you 4d8 plus 15 instantly and 1 HP per round after that for up to an hour. It also restores any missing limbs, so if Batman blows off your arm, you can just grow it back. Did he know it would grow back the first time? I hope so. That would probably break the no-kill rule. Our capstone is the 14th level of bard for 2 more magical secrets. An investiture of stone makes you a muddy monster. For up to 10 minutes, you get resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage. You can make small earthquakes as an action, forcing a dexterity saving throw on creatures in a 15-foot radius, knocking them prone if they fail, and you can move through the difficult terrain without spending extra movement, as well as walls and floors as long as you end your turn outside of them. Finally, Alter Self lets you change your appearance without illusion. It could also give you a swimming speed and the ability to breathe underwater, or natural weapons that have +1 to their attack rolls and are magical in terms of overcoming resistances. They deal a d6 of bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing damage, so you can spend a 2nd level spell to punch worse and use your concentration. Now that we've hit level 20, let's talk about the good parts of this build. First, you're an incredible actor with +17 to 3 charisma skills with advantage on all of them. You're also able to lay the smack down with ways to paralyze a creature, then action surge to deal 8d8 plus 1d6 plus 20 damage, to deal 8d8 plus 2d6 plus 20 bludgeoning and 10d6 psychic damage in 1 turn, or 85 damage against a creature that can't move with median rolls. Finally, you're a bulky boy with around 180 HP depending on how well you rolled, and ways to heal yourself to make sure you don't die. For weaknesses, your saving throws are bad. Dexterity and wisdom are really common, and feeble mind can stop you from getting your rocks off. I mean, getting your rocks on. You also have a lot of concentration spells and can only pick 1 at a time. Finally, your AC sucks. You have proficiency with medium armor, but even then you're around 14. Turns out the giant monster man, pretty easy to hit. But you don't have to be a big monster. Disguise yourself, lie to people, and if you really have to fight them, do it as a mudslide. Just watch out for someone with a big intellect. Tricky puzzles could riddle you down. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, subscribe for more. We make 2 videos every week. Join the Patreon to vote for Black Lightning or Firestorm, and sub to Tulok and Mango for more Tulok fun.